Police believed Chloe was one of 3 children who were groomed by a gang of 13 much older Kurdish men. They met the girls after school in Newcastle's Eldon Square. They say they were taken to houses in the West End where they were plied with alcohol and abused.
I'd be given drinks and more drinks, and then suddenly I could be hit, then dragged into a bedroom, and sometimes multiple men came in and sometimes it was just one.
Chloe and her mum, who we're calling Christine, have agreed to talk to me. They must remain anonymous because Chloe is a rape victim. These are their exact words spoken by actors.
They would kiss my cheek, and if I turned my head away, then they would slap us in the face. And then sometimes I would wake up the next morning with no clothes on, and I was that drunk that I couldn't do anything.
Chloe's name came to the police's attention in 2016 as part of Operation Optic. The investigation began when another child told the police she was a victim of the grooming gang. At first, Chloe didn't want to cooperate.
But I thought of other girls and how it's probably still happening to them. And if, what if one of them had died and it was on the news and I'd refused to help the police, I would have felt guilty. So, in the end, it was more for other girls.
I thought she was doing the right thing. I knew it would be hard, and I was scared, to be honest, but I trusted the police 100%, 1,000,000%, to do the right thing and bring these people to justice.
I was promised that they would never see the light of day. Many times they said they would go to prison for a very, very long time.
Having now agreed to help the police, Chloe had to dredge back into the years of abuse which started when she was only 12 years old. The police took her to addresses where she says she recalled being attacked, and then she was shown the faces of the men the police were investigating.
I had a hard time IDing them. I was seeing their faces again. That was hard. Felt violated and dirty and ashamed.
Since the police got involved, she suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. What's happened to her is horrific. Horrific.
Well, she's quite right when she says it's horrific. She will have had to relive all that abuse again by showing the police areas of where her abuse happened. So this is further traumatisation, and it's very, very hard for them to recover and to talk about all the things that have happened to them.
The trauma Chloe put herself through was to all be in vain. Her case collapsed when a senior detective admitted in court that they'd failed to record their inquiries in the official way through a Northumbria police notebook. This is an old version, but the principle remains the same. Police notebooks are strictly regulated. They're individually issued, and the pages are numbered so that they can be logged as evidence and disclosed to the defence teams. Under cross-examination by one of the defence barristers, Paul Rooney, the detective admitted writing key evidence in a series of personal jotters. These were not kept secure. They weren't logged as evidence, and crucially, they were never disclosed to the defence teams. This failure undermined the whole investigation. It resulted in the trials being abandoned and the men Chloe says abused her walking free.
There's an expectation of transparency in criminal proceedings, that disclosure is given so defendants can understand the case that they are facing. And if notebooks don't emerge until midway during a trial, clearly questions are going to be asked.
The case against a group of men accused of grooming, raping and trafficking underage girls in Newcastle has collapsed because of failings in the way police recorded evidence. Our reporter Alison Freeman has been following the cases from the start and joins us in the studio. So Alison, what happened today?
Well, Jeff, today we have essentially seen 4 years of work by Northumbria Police come to an end with nothing to show for it. When I reported on the case back in March, there was shock that this high-profile investigation had collapsed. For Chloe, watching at home with her mum, the news of what had gone so badly wrong had a devastating impact. One who was aged just 12. That was between...
I sat there thinking, it's me.
Today, Northumbria Police said they'd visited and apologised to the alleged victims in this case for what the police themselves are describing as the failings which have prevented these cases from going ahead.
And then when the police had said that they'd made an apology, I started to become more angry and frustrated. I don't feel like I got an apology, not a proper one. I think they should have come out and said mistakes were made and take the responsibility for it. I went to court and was thrown all these questions that I didn't even know could be answered. It was being dropped, no verdict, no one's going to prison.
This was the last straw for Chloe and her mum. They'd already suffered the consequences of a serious mistake made by the Crown Prosecution Service.
Unfortunately, my client had quite a distressing experience, which started quite early on in the investigation, when the CPS disclosed her address to the legal teams acting on behalf of her abusers.
Oh, I was livid. What have they done? So we're just supposed to sit here and wait for them to come knocking at the door. I was scared. I just wanted her to pack her things and move. And I was going to go with her. I was quite prepared to leave everything as well. I mean, how can you do that? How can you reveal where a victim lives?
I was angry. And every car I heard, I looked out the window. I was scared and anxious.
Following the collapse of the court cases, Chloe and her mum met the police and Crown Prosecution Service to try to thrash out why it had all gone so badly wrong. This is a reenactment of that meeting, with the exact words taken from an official transcript.
What happened to the CPS lawyer who disclosed the address?
The statement had your address on it and it should never have gone out. It should have been edited. I can only apologise. It sometimes does happen. The CPS lawyer is retired now. I can only apologise.
I was like, really? And they said, yes, it happens all the time. I couldn't believe it. It just seemed to be swept under the carpet.
We asked the CPS for an interview to answer why Chloe's address had been disclosed, why her case had collapsed, and why she felt so badly prepared to give evidence. They refused that request and failed to answer our questions. But in a statement released from the CPS's offices here in Newcastle, it said it was involved in a joint review with the police into why Chloe's case had collapsed, and that when it was complete, it was committed to implementing all appropriate recommendations to better ensure the integrity of investigations and prosecutions moving forward. Chloe and her mum were promised there would be a full investigation by Northumbria Police into what went so wrong and why.
How does the review work? Is everyone interviewed?
The review has gone to Assistant Chief Constable level. They will involve everyone and it will be wide-ranging. You will hear more about it. We will keep you in the loop.
Do you think it's acceptable how Northumbria Police are behaving at the moment?
Northumbria Police are investigating matters themselves. There's no independent investigation. So I think everything possible needs to be done to ensure public confidence And if I was the Chief Constable of Northumbria Police, I'd be throwing open my door and asking for an independent investigation to ensure no stone is left unturned.
Do you think it's acceptable that Northumbria Police are investigating themselves?
How can it be right to investigate yourself when you know that some of the officers have made big mistakes? You've got to be independent. A police force can't investigate itself, and that's been proven many, many times on a number of different issues, and sexual exploitation being one particular.
The body which normally investigates mistakes made by police forces is the IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct. It confirmed to me that 2 Northumbria officers are being investigated by Northumbria's Professional Standards Department. But it said it wouldn't be investigating the case because the matter didn't have significant impact on public confidence.
I want to know what went wrong, and they need to be held responsible. So if somebody's done something wrong, then the right action needs to be taken against them. But they need to say sorry and be accountable for what they've done.
We asked Northumbria Police for an interview to answer the questions raised by Chloe and her mum. They declined the offer also. In a statement, they said they had been to visit the victims to apologise for what were described as the force's failings, centred around how some evidence had been secured without meeting strict guidelines. The statement went on to say that because their review of the case is still underway, it would be inappropriate to comment any further at this stage. Dame Vera Baird was the Police and Crime Commissioner for Northumbria at the time of Chloe's case, and she's now moved on to become Victims Commissioner for England.
It's unfortunate that she didn't ensure an independent investigation was undertaken during her time in office. We've recently written to her.
I think she could have investigated a little bit further, but she hasn't. She's now Victims Commissioner. And where is she? She's nowhere to be seen. And it's wrong.
This is the website of the Victims Commissioner. Dame Vera says she wants to hear first-hand from victims whose voices need to be heard. She was in court to witness some of Operation Optic, so we asked her for an interview. She declined our offer, but in a statement said nobody should have to endure what the victims in this case went through. She went on to say that at the time the case collapsed, she'd made it clear that if she wasn't satisfied with the findings of the review, she'd order another. And she said that responsibility now lies with the current Police and Crime Commissioner. In her current role as Victims Commissioner, she said she couldn't take on individual cases, but she could take a keen interest where things have gone wrong. She said, "I intend to do that in this case." What do you make of the fact that none of the authorities involved will give an interview to us about what has happened here?
It smacks to me of complacency. Why should I? It's over and done with. Who cares? And isn't that why sexual exploitation was first really brought to the table? Because that was exactly what police and local authorities and social care were doing. They were ignoring the fact that these children were being sexually exploited.